Welcome back to Vital Signs. Before the break, we were talking about food as medicine, and we talked about just substituting one meal or one snack with something a little bit healthy. We have our resident expert in longevity and peak human performance, Lisa Brooking, here. And Lisa, so I'm going to ask the question because juicing is a thing and it's easy, and we see all of this. We can go anywhere now in the airport when I travel. I opt, for example, for a juice instead of going to the Chick-fil-A or whatever other brand happens to be there that's a fast food, because it makes me feel like I'm getting my nutrients in because it's green. It's something that's green. What does that look like in this conversation?
Well, it's certainly a better alternative than a juice or a pop or something like that, or a Coca-Cola. But, you need to eat the greens. There's the fibers and the nutrients, and it's so healthy for your gut. And so your gut wants to break down those nutrients, and there's so many benefits. So yes, juicing in a pinch is a great alternative, but really we want to be chewing those fruits and vegetables. It creates a great, we're also using our muscles in terms of our bone jaws and such, and keeping our facial structures great, our gut healthy, everything. So we certainly want to be eating those apples and raw vegetables. It gives us strong teeth, and as well as we get those great benefits from the food itself. So as much as possible, we need to chomp on those carrot sticks. But I do understand, and I too take advantage in a pinch to juice.
Okay, fantastic. So we want to be chewing we want to make sure we're eating, not drinking our vegetables and fruits as much as possible so we can get that amazing fiber out of it and all that nutrition. And so I want to shift gears a little bit because food is medicine. We know food is medicine, but also movement is medicine. And that's my favorite because I don't know if you know this, but I'm a physical therapist by trade. I spent many years working with elite athletes in the movement space. So I love movement as medicine. Tell me more.
Oh my gosh, well, we're speaking the same language because in order for me to be able to compete at a high performance level, and I've competed at the world stage, you do need, movement is medicine. And whether I'm competing for the national team or I'm just, going for a walk, movement in general is so healthy. Our body's meant to move. It helps us process food, it helps bring great, changes our mindset with our mood, and gives us that energy. So while people think movement actually expends energy, which it does, it also gives us those great endorphins, which is going to give us back more energy than what we actually expended.
And we always feel better when we get out and walk or move, especially when we're outside, because you're getting that, I call it vitamins, fresh air, and sunshine, as well as moving our bodies. So if we are watching this or listening to this, and movement is not a part of our day because we were told we had to sweat it out for 30 minutes or an hour or what have you in order for it to count, what's the first step?
Well, the first step, again, let's just start small. So you're going to take the stairs. You're going to park your vehicle and take the stairs versus the elevator in the morning. You're going to go you're going to go and get that coffee versus doing a skip the dishes or something that maybe delivers that. So it's, again, just getting out, being mindful, bringing people with you. There's a power in connection. Movement is medicine. It only yields positive. There's no downside. And so it helps you process food. It keeps you younger. It keeps you healthier and more vibrant. So movement, let's just start with small changes, create a plan, and move forward.
So if movement is helping us process food, should we be walking after we eat?
Absolutely. And that will certainly help prevent those afternoon lulls. And so after you eat, to go out for a 10, 15, if you can squeeze a 20-minute walk in, it helps to process the food and then really reset yourself for the afternoon and keep you going, keeping you at peak performance. So if you're a busy mom or you're an executive or, it's a student in school, right? And so either way, you want to be able to deliver on your mission, which is, going through your day-to-day, and you want to do it fully alert, engaged, and in order to do that, movement helps keep that going.
I really like the idea of no more 3 p.m. slump. For the longest time, I found the 3 p.m. slump was related to what I was eating because I was in sports med, so I was moving all day long, getting 35,000 steps in, in the clinic. But if I ate something that didn't agree with me, I had the 3 p.m. slump. But what you're saying is also, if we're not moving our body, you have that 3 p.m. slump because I guess that blood flow is all in our feet and it's not getting back up, and so we're not getting that oxygenation. And so what are some other ways that we can incorporate movement into our day that maybe we're not thinking about?
Well, just to go back to what you're saying about that 3 p.m. slump, sometimes it's, is it the calories or the nutrients? So it could be that you're actually craving, you think is calories, but what your body's asking for is nutrients. So you may need that little afternoon snack, but pick something healthy because that will give you that bounce back. You know what, movement is in so many different ways. So whether it's if you enjoy dancing or you enjoy, pickleball or just running around with kids, it's like movement is just needs to be a way of life. And I think if we can bring that back into the homes, the food is medicine, movement is medicine, we will see healthier families, healthier communities.
That's super fantastic. Thank you for that. And so as we're moving through this conversation, I have heard add one healthy meal a week. Just start there and see how you feel. And I've heard add a little bit of movement in the day, as simple as putting on your favorite tunes and dancing like no one's watching. That's my personal favorite. Or taking a walk after you eat so that you can better digest your food. Is there anything else that we should know about movement as medicine?
Well, and you gave great examples, even just parking further back at the parking lot. There's so many things that our body needs to move. Movement in medicine, our bodies are meant to move, and in terms of that, we want our heart and everything to stay healthy. So in order for it to stay healthy for the long haul, we want it to be around for a while, we need to work that muscle. So it's not just the general day-to-day movement, but we also want to push our body, right? Because it wants to be pushed, and then those muscles and fibers will break down, but then they come back stronger. And so I really encourage individuals, whether it's going for a run or a bike ride or doing something, that really pushes their heart rate for a period of time, that's so healthy as well. And so the combination of both just the active movement, but also, you're gonna push yourself and do something, then that's going to help create that longevity and that peak performance in your health over time.
Fantastic. And I have one other question about movement, because we haven't really touched on resistance training. And so we hear about resistance training and how it's very important for us for, bone density and maintaining our strength. And as we get older, we lose strength if we're not doing resistance training. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, there's certainly the cardiovascular health benefits, but also you need the stability and you need the strength, because you could fall and break a bone and such like that. So absolutely resistance training. I was resistant to resistance training for many years because I thought I could just run, and the more I run, the faster I'll get. But in order for me to have longevity in the sport, resistance training is the money, and that's where it's at. And so I've very much embodied incorporating that 2 to 3 times into my workouts, and it's been hugely beneficial. So yes, resistance training, it doesn't need to be expensive with a big gym membership. You could just get some resistance bands at home. There's just so many simple ways that you can incorporate it into your fitness routine.
And so I want to just touch on that. Like, if we were working out at home, if we were going to start a resistance training, of course, check with your doctor, make sure you're safe to start a resistance training program. But if we were going to start a resistance training program and we've never done it before, what are maybe 5 or 6 things that we can do that can give us that whole body sort of workout that we can start getting those muscles firing?
Well, there's so many great apps and places to go to really give you a proper tailored plan. And of course, like Health Code Medical could do that as well. But I just love starting with just doing a plank. Set the stopwatch and see if you can do a minute plank, and then really work on that, because a plank is very much a whole body strengthening approach. And you just really build on that. So there's so much you can do depending on the area of focus. I love anything that involves a lot of movement, because then I'm working lots of different muscles and really creating that stability and strength at the same time. So I'm all about, the power hour. What can I pack in and get the most bang for my buck? And so that's why I like taking the stairs. That's why I carry a backpack versus a briefcase, because I want that stability. I want that load as I'm climbing the stairs from the parking garage. And so what can I pack into my day that allows me to still compete at a high performance level, even though I don't have those hours to train like I used to?
I love it. And so if people are watching or they're listening and they would like to reach out and learn more about Health Code Canada, or maybe pick your brain and get their personalized plan, whether it's nutrition or a movement or an assessment, how can they reach out to you?
Yes, healthcodemedical.ca.
Fantastic. You heard it here, healthcode.ca, healthcodemedical.ca.
Yes.
Healthcodemedical.ca. Thank you so much, Lisa. We do have to take a brief break, but we'll be right back after these messages.